The movie begins in a dense, shadowy forest. Draw jolts awake at the sound of an approaching plane. Her instincts kick in. She grabs her weapon and takes position. The moment the plane lands and a man steps out, she pulls the trigger. A single shot to the head. He drops instantly. Meanwhile, miles away, former Marine Levi wakes up drenched in sweat from a nightmare. Struggling to shake the haunting memories, he decides to clear his head, taking a quiet walk along the beach as the first light of morning creeps over the horizon. His phone buzzes. A message. Report to the Marine Corps base. Urgent. Later at the base, Levi meets Agent Bartholomew, a sharp, no-nonsense intelligence officer. She wastes no time. Levi, we know your record. Elite sniper. No family, no ties. She slides a file across the table. We have a job for you. Lithuania. Levi studies the folder. No details, no explanations, just coordinates. In a quiet cemetery, Dra kneels before a gravestone, running her fingers across the name engraved in stone. It's her mother's death anniversary. Her father stands beside her, silent for a long moment. Then, his voice breaks the stillness. The doctors say it's too late. The cancer's past treatment. Dra's eyes widen. But before she can speak, he continues. If I make it to February 14th, I'll end things myself. It's time I reunite with your mother. She clenches her jaw, swallowing the lump in her throat. Valentine's Day is only months away. Levi blinks awake, groggy from an anesthesia-induced sleep. The rumbling engines of a plane hum around him. He tries to move but feels restrained. A female soldier stands over him. Where are we? He mutters. She doesn't answer. Instead, she collects all his personal belongings. You're reaching a no-fly zone. You jump here. Walk the rest of the way. Numb. Levi exhales sharply, shakes off the lingering effects of sedation, grabs the assigned bag, and heads toward the hatch. With a deep breath, he leaps. The wind roars around him. He waits, then yanks the parachute cord at just the right moment. He lands hard but safe, rolling onto the damp ground. Around him, nothing but wilderness. His journey begins. Trekking, climbing, camping. Days pass. Eventually, he reaches the edge of a massive gorge, an impossible divide that stretches into the horizon. There, he meets Soldier JD, a rugged, weary-looking man. Been here a year? JD grunts. Still don't know where here is. They hike to the West Tower, a fully self-sustained outpost, powered by solar energy, backup generators, and rainwater collection systems. A vegetable garden flourishes nearby. Wild game is plentiful. Across the gorge stands the East Tower. We don't talk to them, JD warns. Levi frowns. Why not? Orders. The gorge itself is a death trap. Landmines, tactical barriers, and cloaking devices that distort satellite signals, keeping the entire area hidden from the world. JD explains the daily mission. Every day you walk the western rim. Restock ammo in the auto turrets every 600 meters. Check the containment fence, the suspended mines, and the cloakers. Keep the gorge invisible. Enough. Levi processes the information. Something about this place doesn't sit right. As the sun sets over the silent gorge, a single thought lingers in his mind. What the hell did I just sign up for? Every 30 days, the radio checks in. A robotic voice asks only one question. Status? Levi always gives the same response. All clear. The voice never says anything else before cutting off. There is no way to reach the outside world. No way to ask questions. If something does go wrong, there's only one failsafe, the panic button. JD calls it the stray dog protocol, but doesn't know what it actually does. All I know is, if you ever have to push it, run. Levi doesn't like the sound of that. As they patrol the perimeter, JD shares more about the gorge's history. This place is older than the Cold War. Decades ago, military teams from multiple nations made a pact to keep it a secret, even from presidents and heads of state. Nobody up top knows this place exists, and it's going to stay that way. Levi listens in silence. His mission? Simple. Keep whatever's inside the gorge from getting out. It sounds crazy. Levi says as much. JD just shakes his head. I thought so too, until I saw them. The Hollow Men. A faint, eerie screech echoes through the gorge below. Levi instinctively tightens his grip on his rifle. JD explains what happened in the late 1940s. 3 horseback battalions were sent in to clear the gorge. Nobody came back. Since then, the military has abandoned any hope of fighting. Containment is the only strategy now. The next day, JD is extracted. He hikes to the pickup point where a helicopter hovers above. A rope drops. A soldier leans out, rifle slung over his shoulder. Identify. JD gives the password. The soldier shoots him in the head. His body falls into the mountains below. The helicopter vanishes. JD was never meant to leave. A month passes. Levi falls into a mind-numbing routine. Patrol, restock ammo, maintain turrets, check the perimeter. Repeat. Every 30 days, the radio checks in. Status, all clear. Click, no questions, no explanations. One afternoon, as Levi works on the garden, something catches his eye. Movement. He rushes to his binoculars. Scanning the east tower. A woman, Dra. She's chopping wood. Strong, methodical, focused. She glances up, sees him, then ignores him. Levi lowers the binoculars. Who the hell is she? That night, a storm rolls in. Lightning cracks. Wind howls. Levi wakes violently from a nightmare. Heart pounding, breath ragged. He grabs his gun, scanning the dark room, senses on high alert. Then, sharp pain. He looks down, glass shards, blood. He stepped on broken glass. It was just a dream. Exhaling, he calms himself and bandages his foot. Then, movement, a shadow in the distance. Levi turns back to the east tower. Dra is awake, watching him. The moment she realizes he's watching her back, she disappears inside. Another month passes. Dra's birthday. She fires a shot into the air. Levi grabs his rifle, eyes narrowing, then sees her holding a sign. Name? Levi writes back. Not supposed to talk. She smirks, holds up another sign. Screw the rules. It's my birthday. Levi shakes his head, amused, and writes, Levi. She raises a glass in a mock toast. Levi hesitates, then mirrors her gesture. That night, Dra blasts music. She dances, carefree, reckless. She motions for Levi to join. He writes, terrible dancer, better sniper. Dra shoots his water bottle. Levi grins, then shoots hers. Then she balances another bottle on her head, grinning. Challenge accepted. Levi takes aim. Then Dra stops. Her smile fades. Something is moving in the gorge. Levi turns his scope toward the shadows below. Then he sees them, the hollow men. They crawl up the gorge wall, twisted humanoid figures, their bodies made of roots, bark, and sinew. Levi fires. One creature drops, lands on a mine. Boom! A chain reaction of explosions erupts down the gorge, sending creatures plummeting into the darkness. The night is silent again. But Levi knows this isn't over. Not even long. The creatures keep climbing. Levi keeps firing, rapid shots echoing through the gorge. Dra isn't far behind, firing her machine gun. Together, they bring down the last of the monsters in minutes. But as the dust settles, one creature reaches Dra's balcony. She grabs her gun and shoots it. Boom, boom, boom. With a grunt, she kicks it off the balcony, watching it fall into the abyss below. But before she can even breathe, more creatures start climbing the wall on her side. Levi reacts immediately, laying down suppressive fire. Once again, they work in tandem, hunting the creatures down with precision. A loud explosion tears through the air as one of the monsters falls on a mine. Metal shrapnel flies. A sharp piece hits Dra in the shoulder, making her stagger back, gritting her teeth against the pain. The creatures keep coming, now climbing both walls. Levi and Dra increase the intensity of their fire, using machine guns and mines as backup to wipe out the remaining monsters. They manage to kill the creatures one by one until silence finally takes hold. The next morning, Dra tends to her shoulder wound. She turns to Levi, a tired but content smile crossing her face. That was my best birthday ever. Levi just nods, watching her work. Later, he heads out to repair the damage, replacing the mines, fixing the perimeter. Suddenly, a drone appears, soaring out from the gorge, flying off into the distance. Levi stands still, staring after it, a sense of unease settling in his chest. As December rolls around, Levi goes to the forest. He sets up Christmas lights around a tree to simulate a holiday he never thought he'd celebrate here. He also hangs a sign for Dra, an unspoken invitation to share in the small joy of this isolated place. From then on, their bond grows. They make snowmen with their names, play chess, and even create a drum set made of pots and pans. They share simple moments, distracting each other from the crushing loneliness of the gorge. But on February 14th, Dra is weeping in front of a family photo. Levi notices her absence during patrol and approaches, asking if she's okay. I'm having a hard day, she admits softly. I wish you could be here with me. Levi nods, his mind racing. Using tools from the armory, he constructs a contraption to launch a rocket across the gorge. It gets stuck on a tree, igniting a small fire. Dra hurries to put it out, but notices something strange, a rope tied to the rocket. She quickly ties it to the tree, running back to her tower. Levi's waiting for her, smiling, asking her to dinner. He slips down the rope, but halfway across, the rope snaps. He's stuck, but Levi's resourceful. With a grunt, he uses his gloves to grip the rope and climbs his way to Dra's side. When he finally reaches her, she teases him about his smell from all the climbing. He grins, then heads to take a shower. Meanwhile, Dra rifles through the old uniforms, finding some clothes from a previous occupant. At dinner, they talk about their mercenary past, the mental toll their work has taken on them. The conversation shifts, lingering in the heavy air. Then, the distance between them shrinks, and they share a slow dance, their bodies coming together in a moment of fragile intimacy. By morning, they are in each other's arms. Levi slides down the rope the next morning, making his way back to his tower. But as he climbs, hollow men appear on his wall, sending a mine into the air. The explosion cuts the rope. Levi starts falling. He reacts instinctively, deploying his parachute just in time. The wind catches him, but he lands hard on the rocks below. Dra watches from her tower, hearing the explosion. Without hesitation, she grabs weapons and jumps into the gorge, her parachute billowing behind her. She falls for miles, her body hurtling through the air. She hits a rock as the river pulls her under, the current pushing her further downstream. Her parachute snags on a rock. She cuts herself free, but the force of the current throws her against a rock, and she drops the auto ascender. Desperate, she grabs onto tree roots, pulling herself to the shore. Meanwhile, Levi is unconscious and hanging from a tree. He stirs as a branch wiggles underneath him. Then he realizes the branch isn't a branch. It's a creature. It lunges at him. Levi wakes up, firing wildly as he untangles himself from the tree. He falls, landing on what he thinks is mud, until it moves. The mud is alive, a mouth opening wide. Levi is trapped. The creature's jaws begin to close. Dra hears the gunfire. She arrives just in time, firing at the creature, rescuing Levi. She uses her knife to cut him free, and together, they begin searching for the rope. But suddenly, they hear the unmistakable sound of screeching. Two hollow men on horseback emerge from the shadows. The horses are part of the trees, the riders weaving swords and attacking. One rider leaps from his horse, trying to pounce on Dra. She reacts quickly, stabbing him in the neck, then shooting him in the face. The second rider turns, using a whip to disarm Levi, but Levi isn't helpless. He pulls out his own gun and shoots the horse and the rider in seconds. Afterward, Dra checks her bag and realizes that the auto ascender fell into the river. Since the walls are too high to climb, they're now trapped. She suggests they follow the river, believing it must lead somewhere. Meanwhile, Levi examines the creature he killed and notices it's wearing an old military uniform. This reveals that the Hollow Men are actually the lost horseback battalions from the story. The duo continues through the forest, passing by hundreds of skeletons. Eventually, they reach an abandoned town overrun by mutated plants. The ground shows signs of earthquake damage, and eerie screeches in the distance warn them that more monsters are nearby. To hide, they take refuge in a church, where they discover skeletons sitting in the pews. Levi smells cyanide, realizing that the townspeople likely took their own lives rather than continue living in this nightmarish place. Suddenly, they hear a noise. Dra looks up and sees a giant spider lunging at her. She quickly pushes it off but falls to the ground, where another spider appears. She stabs it, but two more attack Levi. He shoots them down, but soon they are swarmed by even more spiders. The soldiers keep firing, killing as many as they can. Dra runs out of bullets, and Levi protects her while she reloads. They rush toward the exit, but just then, Hollow Men burst into the church. The duo is now forced to fight both the spiders and the Hollow Men simultaneously. Dra smashes a creature's head against a table and throws it aside, causing the spiders to climb onto it. Levi also fights off several creatures in close combat, eventually managing to shoot them down. Dra then fires a grenade at the back wall, creating a large hole that allows them to escape. Fleeing through the forest, they hear the monsters screeching behind them. To avoid being too exposed, they move closer to the wall. They discover an old door leading to a facility that has also been overtaken by mutated plants. Inside, they find what was once a military lab. There are skeletons scattered around and a generator, which Dra activates. Levi discovers a tape and plays it on a projector. The footage shows a scientist explaining that in 1946, this community was formed as part of a top-secret coalition of nations during the final years of World War II. Their mission was to develop biochemical missiles. However, just 6 days before the recording, an earthquake struck the area, causing a chemical leak. The scientists worked non-stop to contain the toxin, but it eventually merged with the local flora and fauna, mutating them. The toxin had no immediate effect on brief exposure, but the scientists who worked longer hours gradually became affected, as shown by a woman on the film whose stomach is covered in branch-like growths. Fortunately, since the lab was located in a gorge, the toxin never spread to the rest of humanity. In another room, Levi and Dra find a computer from the late 2000s, revealing that people continued experimenting at the lab long after the original incident. Levi turns on the computer and discovers that the facility belongs to Dark Lake, a private paramilitary corporation. The drone they previously saw was collecting samples for Dark Lake's experiments, which aimed to create super soldiers. The towers and hired guards were part of the company's efforts to keep the secret hidden. On the computer, Levi also finds information about the Stray Dog Protocol, which is actually a nuclear bomb designed to sterilize the area in the event of a chemical leak. As the duo prepares to leave, Levi tells Dra that the mission was worth it because it allowed him to meet her. They use a smoke grenade to cover their escape. Suddenly, a hollow man's whip wraps around Dra's ankle and drags her through the forest. She tries to cut the whip with her knife, but crashes into a tree, causing her to drop it. She attempts to shoot at the rider, but the rough terrain makes it difficult to aim. Meanwhile, Levi follows the tracks and eventually reaches the facility with the nuclear bomb. Inside, the hollow man hangs Dra and twists a branch embedded in her stomach to torture her before pulling it out. Summoning her strength, Dra kicks him in the chest and frees herself by untangling the ropes. She grabs a piece of metal to use as a weapon. The hollow man overpowers her, and the snake in his chest attacks, but Dra refuses to give up. She decapitates the snake and throws the metal at the hollow man. Though it doesn't cause much damage, it enrages him. He chases her around the room, swinging his sword. Dra uses bones as a shield and creates a torch from a bonfire, which she uses to set the hollow man on fire. As he screams in agony, Levi finally arrives and finishes him off with a bullet. After reuniting with a hug, Levi inspects the hollow man's uniform and recognizes the name. It belonged to the first guard from his tower. The duo takes the creature's sword and continues through the lab. They find the place where the initial chemical leak occurred, now filled with mutated creatures trapped in goo. As they cross a bridge, the goo stirs, and the faces of the mutated beings start breathing. Dra accidentally steps on a root, triggering the goo to reach out and try to capture her. Levi uses the sword to cut through the sticky substance and free her. Suddenly, larger creatures awaken and roar at them. As Levi uses the sword to clear a path, a goo whip grabs his ankle, making him fall. Dra shoots a grenade behind them, causing a massive explosion. The creatures catch fire, and the flames spread through the goo, allowing the duo to escape. They search the town and find military jeeps in a garage. After fixing one of the engines, they drive for hours until they reach the broken rope from earlier. Levi ties it to the jeep, while Dra fends off approaching hollow men. When she runs out of bullets, they swap places. The duo begins ascending the wall in the jeep. However, the hollow men start climbing after them. Levi uses the sword to strike down the attackers, while Dra finds an axe and joins the fight. As they battle, a hollow man jumps onto the jeep and nearly pushes Levi off. He managed to grab hold at the last second, but is left dangling. Thinking quickly, he stabs the jeep's gas tank. After climbing back up, he ignites a flare and throws it at the dripping propane, causing a massive explosion that incinerates their enemies, but also destroys the jeep. Levi hits the wall during the blast, breaking his leg. Dra helps him up. Since they're now close to the top, they cut the rope, letting the jeep crush the remaining hollow men below. After finally escaping the gorge, they return to their towers and treat their injuries. They agree to quarantine themselves for 5 days in case they were exposed to the toxin. Wanting to be free, they make a plan to destroy the gorge and run away together. Before parting, they share a kiss, and Levi tells Dre he loves her. Using a grappling gun, he returns to his own tower. The next day, during their routine radio check-in, Bartholomew picks up Levi's call instead of the usual employee. She informs him that she knows the lab computer was accessed and suspects the person in the other tower is responsible. Levi is ordered to eliminate them. Pretending to comply, Levi ends the call. However, it is revealed that Bartholomew saw footage from the lab camera, confirming both soldiers were there. She contacts a commander to prepare a team to investigate the gorge the next morning. As Levi and Dra plant mines for their escape plan, Dra writes, "I love you" back for Levi. Suddenly, they spot a helicopter approaching. They flee into the forest as drones are deployed to hunt them down. A chase ensues, with the duo shooting down the drones one by one, despite sustaining injuries. Reaching a higher ground, they take sniper positions. The mines they previously planted trigger a chain reaction, destroying the remaining drones. With the gorge exposed, the stray dog protocol activates. Bartholomew and her team rush to escape in the helicopter, but the nuclear bomb detonates, destroying the entire area. The shockwave causes the helicopter to crash, killing everyone inside. Levi is thrown off a cliff into a river, while Dra manages to escape and hides in a cave, waiting for him. After a month without any sign of Levi, she leaves alone. Sometime later in France, Dra is working as a waitress. One day, she is stunned to see Levi sitting at a table. He explains that it took him a while to recover from his injuries. Overwhelmed with emotion, they reunite with a kiss. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.